In Big 12 Studios, and now on the brand spanking new Big 12 app. Download the Big 12 app, which you can get breaking news, scores, and of course Big 12 radio, all a part of the best access to the best conference in America. Big 12 brand new app. Go download it today, and of course you can always stream us at big12studios.com. Find all the platforms in which you can watch us each and every morning. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league, James. With James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkin. We've got our top 5 series continuing as we're breaking down the top 5 at each position in the Big 12 heading into this 2026-2027 football season. And we're looking at tight ends coming up in about 30 minutes from now. Get your mind out of the gutter there.
Were you teasing Lincoln Cure in the first segment of the show? Not sure if you're aware, he had a huge spring 2 years ago when he wasn't even on campus. When ChatGPT was writing ESPN spring preview articles and we called him out. But
by the way, I see that a lot.
ChatGPT written articles?
Yes. And they're so obvious. It's crazy to think that they make it that far. That nobody was like, actually, maybe let's change this a little bit. Maybe take some of this AI jargon.
Because sometimes they'll forget, they'll copy and paste the entire thing, and they'll miss the very bottom, and it'll be like the ChatGPT prompt. Would you like me to write up an expanded bio on each of these players?
That or just the language that ChatGPT uses, any AI system uses. It's like, that's not how people talk.
Totally.
It's very oddly descriptive in ways that don't need to be, yeah. Do you remember there was an old SNL skit with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler where Chris Farley was the wife and she'd be reading from the Zagat Guide, describing the restaurants, and Adam Sandler's like, "Kill me now," as she continues to read through. That's basically what it's like when ChatGPT gives you certain things. It's like, I don't need those descriptions. Those are very weird and bizarre ways to describe these things.
Man, I miss Chris Farley. I also miss when iPhones, we weren't forced to buy a new iPhone. Because the Big 12 app, which is phenomenal, easy to navigate, I can pop around from tab to tab, but my phone just did an update, and now, and I have an older iPhone, I think it's a 12, maybe a 13, but it's doing that intense lag where the phone is forcing me to buy a new phone. It's outdated, they want me to buy a new phone, so everything that used to just work has all of a sudden super slow, stops working. I go to fire off a text. It takes 30 seconds to load all my messages. We've just hit a point where now I'm feeling like I'm forced to buy a new phone.
Yeah, you got to support that old mom and pop shop of Apple. Lord knows they need more of it. It's insane. Big 12 today, Big 12 radio presented by Modelo. The NCAA tournament is officially expanding from 68 to 76 teams. This is a move that has been inevitable, but has certainly been discussed and talked about now for multiple years. James, your opinion on it? Good, bad, indifferent. Love, hate, don't have any feelings towards it.
Yeah, like we said at the top, I'm warming up to it for a couple of reasons. The last 2 tournaments, there has not been a Cinderella story. So I guess, unfortunately, I have in some ways gotten used to these chalky tournaments, which makes for really good Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four matchups. Because to me, that's essentially what this is doing. You're going to have all the mid-major programs, and Randy Bennett talked about this at his introductory press conference just yesterday, the new Arizona State basketball coach, and he said with the NCAA tournament, the direction it was going there, NIL, their conference is losing Gonzaga, which was their only quality opponent during the season because nobody will play them in the non-conference. So the gap between the power conferences and the mid-majors continues to widen. This is only going to add to that because you're going to have more power conference teams in, and all the mid-majors are going to be playing in those play-in games. So I'm warming up to it because the last 2 tournaments have been really good in the Sweet 16 and forward. And then the second piece to me is the actual bracket itself. Is it going to look that much different? You're going to have way more opening round, I guess is what we're calling them now. 12 versus 12, 11 versus 11s. But also it's really good for the Big 12. That would be my third point, is the financial piece, all of the units, more teams in, Cincinnati, Arizona State maybe, Oklahoma State maybe, West Virginia maybe this past year would have been in under this new format.
I love it. I love it because of how many people hate it, including some of the coaches. Some of these quotes that Matt Nordlander got from some of these coaches, it's like, get over yourself. It used to mean something to make the tournament. I don't disagree with you, but like really 68 was like that was the be all end all. Like now that we're at 76, it no longer means anything. You know, like inevitably 20 years from now, it'll probably expand again, and then people will be like, see, it used to mean something to make a 76-team field. Now that it's a 100-team field, it doesn't mean anything. So, like, okay, so 68 was the be-all, end-all for that. I also think, like, it's obviously good for the Big 12. It just means more potential revenue. It means more access, more teams. I'm all for things that are good for the Big 12. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, as they say. Not really sure what a gander is, but I've been led to believe that if it's good for the goose, it's good for the rest of them.
When I see a gander, I'm like, that's good. That's good for everybody.
So I love it. But the fuel that, for this, for me, my love of it is just how much people hate it. People hate it. For what? I mean, again, like, the idea that, like, 68 was the perfect number, no, it wasn't. You just led yourself to believe that. And 5-10 years from now, we'll forget that there wasn't ever a 76-team field.
Just like we forgot there was a 64-team field.
Right.
Which to me was the sweet spot. 64 to 68, but we got used to it, and we will get used to this.
So the specifics of this, if you've not yet heard, would be that we have a 24-team, 12-game, quote-unquote, opening round that will feature 6 games on Tuesday after Selection Sunday, and then 6 more on Wednesday. The 12 winners from those games will feed into a 52-team bracket to create 64-team tournament that initiates the first round on Thursday as usual. So basically, it's a pre-tournament to get into the 64-team field. It just means there's going to be 8 16 seeds, 8 15 seeds, and so on and so forth. That's where the extra teams are coming from.
And last year, you think about, BYU loses in their first game against Texas. Texas had won their play-in game. It's going to be more power conference teams on that 11-12 line compared to what we saw in previous tournaments. VCU back in 2011, they were like the first Cinderella play-in game team, right? And we've seen it year over year. A play-in tournament winner has won in the second game to get to the round of 32 in each and every tournament since this 68 to 64 expansion happened, or 64 to 68. And so now it's just going to be more marquee matchups like a BYU Texas in that opening round that maybe we didn't have before. Cincinnati would have been a really intriguing 11 or 12 seed. Could they have beaten a 5 seed or a 6 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament? That part is definitely good for the Big 12 because it's more teams, it's more access, it's more opportunity.
Now, here's what's interesting is most people hear about expansion and think immediately it's about money. And I'm not trying to say that it's not, but the money isn't nearly as much as you'd expect given this being about money, quote unquote. What's maybe most interesting that isn't being discussed as much is that this agreement approves previously restricted product categories for its corporate champions and partners programs, specifically beer, wine, spirits, and hard seltzers. So forever, they would not associate alcohol brands with the NCAA tournament in terms of their corporate sponsorships. Now they will, and that is actually the main reason for expansion. Why? Because if you're expanding without any additional revenue, you're taking a larger loss. You're actually losing money because it costs money for the NCAA to put these tournaments on. So opening up access to beer, wine, spirits, and hard seltzer allows for you to at least make some money on top of the money that's going out based on putting on these extra games.
Mm-hmm. That is, to your point, the number one thing that's getting overlooked. Because sure, it opens up more advertising space because you have more games, so there's more space on CBS and TNT and other broadcasting partners. But a lot of that $131 million number as new money, that is a projection based off of what current ad space is going for, future ad space, and then the fact that the alcohol deal is the real engine behind those sponsorship opportunities. And in the NCAA tournament, and I didn't really understand how all of this worked until now, so for every game that you win, that is a unit. A school gets paid out $350,000 for each unit. So if you make a Final Four run like Arizona did, That's 4 or 5 units at today's rates, which are only going to increase. That's $10-12 million flowing to those schools and those conferences over the next 5 or 6 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly right. Any other thoughts of the bracket and teams that might have been in based on a 76-team field?
The bracket's fine. I mean, it's still going to look the same way with just way more opening round play-in games. But I would say Cincinnati is the number one team that comes to mind in terms of would have been in the field. But also, like, remember when the NCAA first started floating out the idea that the tournament was going to expand? The thought process and the main selling point was more mid-majors in, more teams that won their conference during the regular season but didn't make the NCAA tournament. And now all of that has been thrown by the wayside. It's all about the power conferences. It's all about the 18 and 14 teams from the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the SEC and the ACC. Those are the teams that are going to be in, which we always kind of felt that way, but now to actually like hear it out there to where, sorry, mid-majors, like it is what it is. Sure, it's more revenue potentially for your conference and your school if you can win a game in the NCAA tournament against another mid-major. But in terms of how many teams are going to get in the field that aren't from the power conferences, that's going unchanged.
Yeah. That's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. On the way next, we're visiting with Jamie Plunkett, who does a great job in covering Big 12 baseball as we head into the final weekend of the regular season in Big 12 baseball. Jamie Plunkett is next. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.